Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using stock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Neil, Brian, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hey. From New York.
Hey. Hello, everybody.
Live from New York and Leamington Spa. So before we get into housekeeping today, I'm going to do a couple of quick promotions. One with a little bit of a heavy heart, I've got to be honest. So I went this morning to check out some of the earlier influences on my journey through Flat Earth, and one of the first names that sprang to mind was Jaren. And Jarenism channel was the first one I went to go and grab a video so I could share a link to that. And unfortunately, there wasn't one. So the channel is now empty, it seems. It's still there, but it doesn't actually have anything I can actually share with you other than a link to his website. So after a bit of discussion amongst the panel, that's what I'm going to promote. So Jaren's still got all his information. It's still there. It's at jarenism.com. So go and check out Jarenism's website. He's got plenty of stuff, including what happened to my channel, which I'm yet to watch. So I only found this out today. Heartbreaking though it is. So big shout out to Jaren, who's a massive influence over me. I'm sure he's not dead. He's still around. This isn't a eulogy. It's just to say he's obviously moving platforms or in transition at the moment because his YouTube channel appears to be empty. So go and check out his website, which he's definitely well on top of by the looks of things. This is his website on screen for the audience right now, so let's just make that a bit clearer. So this is jarenism.com. Check out his material, which is there in bulk, looking shiny and new. So there's all of his stuff, Jarenism Live. Obviously there'll be Raw on there and various other stuff. I noticed his Raw channel is still there, so he has still got a presence on YouTube to some extent, it seems, on his Raw channel, which is got considerably less support, but nevertheless it is a channel that you can check out on YouTube to get a bit of Jaren if you need it. But Jarenism was a massive influence on me, so he still is, and it's a bit disappointing to see he's not on YouTube for whatever reason at the moment, and I'm looking forward to finding out why on his website, which I've put a link to in the live chat, so check out Jarenism's website. That's www.jarenism.com. Next, we've got Quantum Eraser YouTube channel. So this is Quantum Eraser. Again, another massive influence slightly later in my journey, but he obviously appears on the panel and I'm looking to pay it forward and obviously ask a lot of people who are watching to go and subscribe to these people. So I'm going to share their links on this particular live stream, and if I am around when I'm watching the Uncut and After show, I'll also do the same there and share the links to these particular YouTubers' channels so you can go and subscribe immediately. Now, as it stands, I think Quantum Eraser's on about 2,000 subscribers, or maybe 2,500 subscribers. I could be wrong. Let's have a look. Oh no, I'm completely wrong. 3.3 thousand subscribers. But there's definitely more people here than there are there. So there's obviously people not subscribed, and Quantum Eraser's content is exceptional. You should be subscribed if you're not already. So go and subscribe to the Quantum Eraser YouTube channel. Last but by no means least was the person who woke me up to Flat Earth, Math Powerland. So his channel, formerly known as the NASA channel, is now renamed Math Powerland, or his name, or his namesake. That's this guy. Let's see if I can play you a bit of this particular video, see what it's got to say.
Adjective for what you're trying to push on me, a shape? You're pushing an adjective. Say it. Come on, say it. You can't say it. Your jaw's locked. It sounds stupid. Go ahead, say the shape. Say that you don't believe the earth is a ball. It doesn't make, so then you say you don't believe the earth is a globe. Then it has some sort of legitimacy. right? Because then you said globe. That's the world, right? Because there's no other ball-shaped thing that means world except globe.
That's Math Powerland. Again, I will spam links to his channel, so go and subscribe today. He is, as far as I'm concerned, the longest standing person in this arena to be positively promoting the subject of Flat Earth. So check out Math Powerland's channel. And that's pretty much it. Those are my 3 promotions. I'll just round them off again. So Jeronism on jeronism.com. That's his website. Go and check it out immediately. Quantum Eraser YouTube channel. Links, second set of links. There's 2 links for Quantum Eraser channel. So go and subscribe to him. And last but by no means least, Math Powerland, the person who originally woke me up to this subject. So check them all out. There's links to all of them in the live stream chat. That's pretty much it. Anyone want to add anything on those 2 or 3 YouTubers? 2 YouTubers? Whichever way you want to look at it.
Those are 3 heavyweights you mentioned.
Oh yeah, definitely. The 3 heavyweights.
Yeah, just share, subscribe, and get everybody to subscribe everywhere. The more content you can subscribe to, the more the word gets out.
Indeed. Hopefully that'll...
Yeah, Jaron was big in my coming around to Flat Earth too. As a matter of fact, that's how I found your channel, because I would listen to him on Glowbusters, and then he would have a show with David Weiss, and that's when David Weiss mentioned your channel, and that's how I found you, Nathan.
Well, that's exactly it. There may not be people here aware of Jaron. I highly doubt it. If you're a long-time subscriber, you'll know who Jaron is, but there are new people who come here that may not have ever heard of him. Why would they? If they've just come to this subject and stumbled on my video, they might not know about Jaron, and they should. So it's worth promoting. Same thing applies to Jaron's now YouTube resident home, I suppose, Globebusters, because that's where you can get your fill of Jaron every Sunday. So Globebusters is still going to be a home for Jaron, I hope. So you'll still be able to get your fill of him there, and on obviously his website, which I've just promoted. So Quantum Eraser couldn't get any more heavyweight than that.
I remember watching the Matt Powerland in the early days when he was on stage doing some kind of a stage routine with this whole debate. I found it pretty funny.
Yeah,
and informative.
With his T-shirt, putting a circular cutout on a paint spattered T-shirt and going, "What planet's this?"
Yeah, he had sunglasses on. He's smoking a cigarette. He's like a nightclub act or something. It was funny.
Epic. Right. That's my promotion. That's my fill for the day. Any evidence?
Good morning, guys.
Morning, Chocolate.
Hey, Choco.
Hey, Chuck.
Just in time for housekeeping. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge, Earth curve horizon?
Not from Seaside Wilderness Park.
How can they have a curve? How can they have a curve if they're throwing away the horizon as well?
They can't. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No, not of the Earth-based variety. The 15 degrees deviation is not able to be proven caused by Earth turning, but we do have the sun moving overhead by 15 degrees.
Can't even observe.
Irrelevant.
Right.
According to Rumpus, there is no way to actually tell whether it's us moving or the sun.
I showed it was us moving.
Hold on.
Is he trying to quote Einstein?
I'm not going to leave that out there. Hold on. Can you repeat that, Brian?
Yeah, according to Rumpus, what I heard him say there recently on Ranty's channel is that there is no way to tell. There was no way for them to tell whether it was us moving or the sun. And Foucault's pendulum proved that it was us. That's what he said the other night.
Us
after
what?
being on
Hold on.
your show
Hold on.
earlier that day.
Brian, string the sentence out a little bit more. Us what? Claimed to be us what? Foucault showed us what?
Sorry. Rumpus claims that Foucault's pendulum proved that we were moving and not the sun.
So it's claimed by Foucault pendulum that Earth rotates underneath the back and forth motion of the pendulum to demonstrate apparent deviation at 15 degrees an hour. Or, to put it more simply, Foucault is claiming Earth turns underneath at 15 degrees an hour.
Yes.
Well, if Earth turns underneath a pendulum at 15 degrees an hour as a second non-inertial spinning reference frame, then flight times would be reduced because Earth would be turning underneath them. And you'd throw a ball in the air on the equator and it would fly away from you at 1,000 miles an hour as you rotated underneath it. So Earth does not rotate underneath. Bullets, footballs, pendulums, gyroscopes, hot air balloons, aeroplanes, Earth does not rotate underneath, as is claimed by Foucault.
And Rumpus.
No, Rumpus simultaneously came here to deny that Earth rotation underneath was an accurate description. He said it was sloppy, even though it's precisely what Foucault is claiming. But we just don't have that effect demonstratable in anything other than a sloppy claim using a pendulum moving back and forth and, according to them, appearing to drift because it's claimed Earth's turning underneath it. And as I say, if Earth is turning underneath a pendulum, we've got a second non-inertial spinning reference frame turning underneath things not attached. And you'd notice that. Your flight time would be reduced. Your ball would fly away at 1,000 miles an hour on the equator. A drone would whiz away from you as it hovers in the air, as Earth turned underneath it. But that simply doesn't happen. So Rumpus had to come here to deny their claim on the globe side that Earth turns underneath the Foucault pendulum. We just don't see any other effects that would exhibit drift. Nothing's drifting away from us.
Well, a few hours later, he changed his mind on that on Ranty's channel and decided to assert that Foucault's pendulum is the reason why now we supposedly know that the Earth is rotating and moving and not the sun. So if he told you it was sloppy, it's funny because his attitude was completely different some hours later on that same evening.
Well, that's because Nathan stopped them and held them to his words where he contradicted himself. But when he goes on another show and isn't stopped, he just gets to ramble on.
It's been edited down. Some of the swearing removed. For the intro, at least. So that'll go out probably after this show. So if you're watching live, I'm more likely than not going to turn these live shows off from here on in. I've been doing that more and more and more. So once this goes out, shortly afterwards, the live show won't be reachable by anybody else. So the majority of people will either become a member, it is financially motivated, I'm not going to lie, or watch it the following day on the weekdays. So this show will be available on Thursday if you're not a member on the second channel. So if you're like, oh, I'll pay for this stuff, well, you don't have to. You just go to the second channel, there's a link below the live show, go and subscribe there, and the full uncut and after show will be published the following day, except over the weekend, which then moves over to the main channel because I don't broadcast live on the main channel. So go and subscribe to my second channel, or become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and you can watch this stuff immediately. As soon as it goes out, I immediately put it out to members. And in the case of that particular discussion, again, it came out yesterday, but it'll just disappear into the massive numbers. But if you remember, you'd find it immediately. Anyway, the point is that I'll trim out that, or I have trimmed it out. I've published it, not yet, but when you're watching this on a re-up, it will have been. But yeah, so check it out. I'm going to call it something like Best Toe Tag Ever, or something like that, because it was extremely embarrassing for Rumpus, who was more than content to demonstrate his own stupidity by deliberately or unintentionally, it doesn't matter either way, not knowing how a pendulum works, because that's what's being utilised to claim Earth turns underneath. Pendulum moves back and forth. Foucault claims Earth turns underneath, so it looks like it's moving round and round. Not because it is moving round and round, it's only an apparent deflection, according to Foucault's description. It's claimed Earth turns underneath. What's that, Rumpus, I hear? A sloppy description? No, that's just the claim. That's what causes Coriolis. You can have it on a roundabout. The roundabout turns underneath stuff not attached. And it's claimed Earth turns underneath stuff not attached. Of course, we'd have to observe stuff drifting away from us, if that was the case. And it never happens. So you need a bit of confusion and doublespeak to come into the equation, don't you now, lads? Thanks, Dan, for making it so clear that we don't have any drift. Reference frame's ruined, right?
from a pseudo-Riemannian force-based perspective, Rumpus was kind of right, though.
You owe me $6 million to use that.
Yeah. Just hoping.
Well, let me tell you the effects these little snippets that you put out, Nathan, have. See, when you take this Rumpus interview that hasn't come out but will come out, but I was there when it happened, so I know how I felt when I heard it. You get a trench baller so twisted within his own misspeak that he's actually arguing both sides at the same time. He's trying to make one side work. So if someone who's a normie listens to this, they're going to say, oh my gosh, that guy's crazy. Yeah, but that guy has your position, and he's one of their best arguers.
I've literally done that. I've had people listen to people like Rumpus and Zanuck, and coworkers will look at me. They'll give me a face like, is this person for real? Or is this scripted? Is this person actually arguing for the globe? And I'll have to tell them, like, yeah, this is not scripted. These people come in and are trying to argue for the globe. And they're like, but why do they sound so ridiculous? Why are they saying things like that? And I said, well, they're the ones fighting for your side. You tell me. I don't know. I can't help you with that.
In case anybody's wondering, right, the little excerpt I released yesterday where I plug Martin Leaker and Arwin, and who else did I plug on that? Oh yeah, Taboo Conspiracy Ben. It wasn't that we had a flux capacitor and we've broadcast that from the future. Chocolate just repeated himself. I just want to make that clear.
Could I give the ballers some advice?
You can give them advice. They may not accept it. Try all you like, John.
If from their perspective, the best thing they can do is just not engage anymore and hope they don't look any dumber. Just give up.
Not possible.
Agreed.
We've got something to share.
Go ahead, Chris.
So I put out I put out a video on my channel. Subscribe to Chris Berry today. Called "Interview with a Hot Air Balloonist as Earth Spin." So I called this local guy who is a hot air balloonist, and he flies the balloon. So obviously, if you want to find out what he says, you can go to my channel and watch the video. And someone named Samuel Robotham, fake name, obviously, said, "Good stuff, Chris." So he says, the balloon pilot just confirmed to you exactly what should and does happen. The Earth, the air, and the balloon are all turning together. And in this example, there would be no discernible difference in a stationary Earth and a spinning Earth, which is why the drone balloon argument is pointless. So again, that's psychology 101 doublespeak. There's no discernible difference between a stationary Earth and a spinning Earth. Well, how convenient is that when you're trying to prove spin to say, well, it's not going to appear to spin. What are you, are you crazy?
Yeah, that's a level of insanity that I think people have to deal with.
Yeah, Chris, because he knows if he has to say that you can observe the drift, then they're going to have a problem because they can't observe it. So it doesn't matter which way they turn to.
But that's the thing, right? They'll call you crazy for saying that it's not spinning, but at the same time they'll tell you, oh, but we can't tell if it's spinning or not. It's like, what?
Yeah, but it's not faith-based.
The problem you have is that you expect to see this Earth rotation. Don't be expecting to see it. It just happens. That's all you need to know.
It's all
so
faith-based.
This is how low they've gone now, right? So they say the Foucault pendulum is no longer what it's purported to be if that guy's saying what he's saying now.
I'm trying to get your video to look nice on screen, and I'm really struggling, Chris. I don't know why. Anyway, I'll share it. So this video is called "Interview with a Hot Air Balloonist. Does Earth Spin?" ? So I'll.
It's just because when I upload audio only, you have to add, some sort of video element. So I just added a picture, and it's like a really wide picture, but it's not very tall. So it's probably messing up the screen size for some reason.
Yeah, it's like, what's going on? I've tried about 6 different formats. I'm like, normally I'm pretty sharp with this stuff. What's going on? Anyway, there's a link to Chris Berry's channel in the info box right now. Not in the info box, in the live stream chat right now. So check out his channel. Again, go and subscribe to Chris Berry. He's got a wonderful channel. Does a lot of practical stuff. So go and subscribe to him. I'll put a link in the live chat.
Hey, Chris, can I ask you a question? Let me ask Chris a question. So if the Earth and the balloon and the air are all moving as one, how come the driver on the ground with the truck is rushing to go where the balloon lands, which is different than when it took off?
Oh, because of the wind.
But that's air.
Right, exactly.
But
it's air.
You do
So
know
if you listen to
everything is moving. You do know if everything is moving with the Earth and you go up and go in the opposite direction, you're going to have a much more faster acceleration because you're just getting the opposite way of the turning.
No, but the guy told Chris that Earth and the balloon and the air are moving as one. Now, when you say three things are moving as one, there's no deviation. It should go up and land right where it went up.
Yeah, so no drift then. Sorry, Chris, you said if you listen to the video I've got it all queued up if you want to tell me a particular place to listen to.
Oh, well, no, I don't have that all memorized. I didn't do timestamps, but the guy basically said, first of all, you can play the first, say, 30 seconds, and because I asked him out at the gate, do you take, I don't know if I said Coriolis or Earth spin into effect, and he said, no, absolutely not, or something like that. First of all, and then at some point in the video, he talks about how. Okay, just play it.
Hello, Dominic.
Skip to like 15, 20 seconds, I guess.
Hey, Brian. My name's Chris. I was just calling. I actually had a couple questions, if I could. Are you one of the, I don't know what to call you, a balloonist, or are you one of the people who flies the balloons?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're a hot air balloon ride operator.
Right. So, just to be upfront, I mean, I don't have any interest in getting a ride, but I did, like I said, have a couple questions around some of the physics of the hot air balloon ride, if that makes it sound strange. But basically, and if you don't mind, a couple minutes here, I'm looking for a way to detect the motion of the Earth, right? So I'll just be upfront about it. So my understanding is in a hot air balloon, you could go up and hover. Kind of pretty much as long as you wanted, right? I'm sure there's a little bit of movement with wind and things, but do you account for the motion, the spin of the Earth?
No, I don't think any of that would ever apply to hot air balloon. I mean, we float wherever the wind takes us at different speeds. Today we traveled over about an hour, about maybe 17, 18 miles, and up and down, and I don't know how any of that would work, but no, and the wind is just different speeds and directions at different altitudes.
So it's really more up to the wind as far as where you kind of move and things.
Yeah, we go wherever the wind takes us and at whatever speed it takes us to.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Chris. So check it out. I'll just.
That's not a demolishment.
1 second. I just spam the link to that particular video as well. So check it out. Give it a like. Put a comment on it. Tell him how the balloon guy doesn't realise Earth's turning underneath at 15 degrees an hour, like Foucault says.
Right.
So they go where the wind takes them in any direction, whatever speed.
My favourite part of Chocolate was when he said, it just wind's going all different directions.
That's the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, if you keep listening, he tries. You can tell he's sort of, wanting the spin to be a part of it. So he does say something like, "Oh, but the winds are dictated by the spin, blah blah blah." Right? I mean, he's no expert, I can tell. So he is trying to formulate some type of hypothesis around like, "Oh, because of this, that sort of thing." But you can tell he's just saying that because of
Have you heard of the Coriolis effect?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So you've heard of it. I mean, assuming you know what that is. So you don't account for the Coriolis, meaning if the Earth is spinning under you and you're above the Earth, floating, so to speak, in the balloon, that doesn't really play into effect of how you control it, or you're not worried about that or anything like that, I guess.
Absolutely not. No, it's we float with the wind, and now it does kind of show its face, I believe, in a way with regards to wind direction at different altitudes, like friction. As the wind is, as you have a south wind and high pressure, that low level wind kind of curves to the left a little bit. Now a lot of that has to do with pressure gradients, temperature inversion, and all that. But Coriolis force, I believe, has a play in it.
Right.
And then you got to go up, turn right, that type of deal. But no, I mean, if anything, it helps us to be able to steer. By steer, I mean catching wind currents at different altitudes.
Right, catching the different wind currents. So.
Okay. So yeah, he's trying to describe Coriolis as though it's a force that can actually act on the balloon, when in reality Coriolis is observed from the ground as you rotate underneath stuff. So yeah, he's got a limited understanding of what Coriolis actually is if he thinks it's going to actually affect the balloon, because it's a not actual drift.
Correct. Yeah, and again, if you listen, you can tell he's sort of trying to make it work. He's probably thinking, wait a minute, why don't I have to? Oh, it's because it's just affecting the wind, and the wind takes us wherever it takes us, right? So he's trying to combine the two to make sense in his own mind. Later on, he says that where they took off, where they landed was about 17. He says, about 17, 18 miles away. If you do, I don't know the exact math because there's the tangential math, there's angular math, whatever. But if you do 39.59 and you divide it by, 360 degrees, so 1 degree, if you do it by 15 degrees, rather, 15 degrees was like 150 miles. And then he actually, and then I asked him what the longest air ride could be. He said about an hour and a half is probably your absolute max. So if you do, that's hour and a half is 22.5 degrees on their model. That's 246 miles worth of apparent drift. So
no, stop. Okay, gotta be careful with your terminology. No. That's 50. That's 200 and whatever miles of Earth turning underneath. The drift bit would be if you're observing the balloon from the ground, seeing it seem to curve away from you as you turn underneath it. So no, it's not drift when you describe what should happen on an Earth that turns. It's 250 miles travelled as Earth turned underneath the balloon. That's not apparent deflection, because that would be you observing it from the ground. I'm really sorry to be nitpicky.
Oh, it's fine. Yeah, look, I get it. Right. So whatever is the correct way of saying it, 250 miles versus.
Let me tell you. 250 miles as Earth is claimed to turn underneath the balloon.
There you go.
Yeah, but Earth didn't turn under the balloon. He didn't move 250 miles. He moved about 15 with the wind, right?
Correct.
So,
and he doesn't take it into account.
Yeah, so it's claimed by Foucault Earth turns underneath as a separate reference frame at 15 degrees an hour. We get plenty of fundy commenters telling us it's proven. 15 degrees an hour drift. That's what they tell us. Well, that's things drifting away from you as you turn underneath them on a turning Earth, according to their claim. And Earth's not turning underneath hot air balloons. There is no drift observable from the ground. Anyone got anything more to add? Thank you, Chris. That was epic. Great interview.
Yeah, I was just going to say that was pretty dope, Chris. And I mean, I think clearly you could hear. I don't think he even thought about it until you brought it up. The whole Earth spinning underneath the balloon. Right. Especially when he's talking about how the winds are going in all different directions and stuff. It's like, he's actually, obviously, I don't want to define his thoughts, but I will a little bit. I think he was trying to work it out in his brain right there when he mentioned the Coriolis force and how that might have an effect in it. Like, I think he was just kind of just going for broke with it. But
right. Yeah, it was like you were saying. He just had to quickly remember what he heard about it, and you hear a lot of nonsense about it too. So
I've got
just going up and
got a-
just going up and down and letting the wind take you.
Exactly.
Nathan, if you can post where I put up a master B for a minute.
Sure, it's on.
Wait,
Okay, so how much distance does a degree minute and a second cover on your maps? And so it says here 1 degree of latitude equals approximately 364,000 feet, or 69 miles. 1 minute equals 6,068 feet, or 1.15 miles. And 1 second equals 101 feet. And on the longitude, 1 degree of longitude equals 280,200 feet, 54.6 miles. 1 minute equals 4,800 feet, or 0.91 mile, and 1 second equals 80 feet. So this is from a .gov site.
wait until he realizes he can't see any curvature either. That's when it's going to be tricky.
So 1 second is 80 feet?
Yeah.
That don't happen.
Yeah. You throw a ball in the air, does it ever drift away from you? Or does it come straight back down to your hand at any latitude?
Comes right back down.
Yeah. Earth's not turning underneath stuff that's not attached. It's just that simple. And when we point out that stuff isn't turning underneath stuff not attached, they say, we don't like the way you describe Earth turning underneath. That's a sloppy description. No, that's Coriolis effect, and you claim it happens, it just doesn't.
Why would you expect
How do you
to see
steer a
drift?
hot air balloon? How do you steer a hot air balloon when the wind is really traveling with the Earth?
There'd be no drift then. No 15 degrees an hour observable from the ground as Earth turns underneath the balloon. Yeah, no drift. They claim there's drift.
Sounds
Foucault's
good to me.
claiming Earth's turning underneath pendulums and gyroscopes. And we've got
but even
apparent
when they-
drift
even when-
underneath
even when they
snipers.
claim that,
Go on, Neil.
sorry. Even when they claim that, how is the atmosphere or air moving with Earth?
Who cares? They claim there's drift at 15
not.
degrees an hour. So their fundamentalist claim that we should argue about not being any drift, should we as flat earthers argue with them about how there should be drift? Because they're telling us there's no drift in that claim. So what, do we argue with them about what they should be claiming? Or do we just tell them no drift then? No 15 degrees an hour drift as things turn underneath?
No, I agree. I agree, but it's asinine both ways.
No, they want us to fully define on a daily basis exactly of how their model is supposed to be so they can lay the blame on us, right? For basically telling it how it isn't, so they don't have to take that claim in their own spirit and they can just assert whatever nonsense they like. They believe in a globe, they don't know what it means. We do, so we then take the blame for the actual nonsense that they believe. They just don't want to realize it.
Yeah, the most recent person to step into this fray, and in entire defence of Simon Dan, is Craig, Fight the Flat Earth. So Flatsword recently released a video with him basically backing Dan and saying, don't you understand that the guy isn't drifting? And showing the exact same video. So, don't you understand, Fight the Flat Earth, that Foucault pendulum is claiming Earth turns underneath at 15 degrees an hour as a separate reference frame? Don't you understand how it's claimed we have drift as Earth turns underneath? Are you also as stupid as Simon Dan to assert single reference frame, Earth not turning underneath, Craig? So, no drift then. You're more than happy to put your stamp next to Simon Dan's stamp of idiocy, showing a man not drifting. Well, you're supposed to have 15 degrees an hour of it, my friend, second reference frame. And to Craig, from Dan, you and your reference frames have been ruined. You need Earth to turn underneath stuff at 15 degrees an hour, and it does not. Maybe tell us all about how it doesn't, and we'll point out you need it to have 15 degrees drift. But like your man being towed by a tractor, he's not drifting. Yeah, he's supposed to show us things drift at 15 degrees an hour, though, not examples of things not drifting, as a justification for why we don't see Coriolis effect on an Earth that's spinning. It's not spinning. And with your examples that don't show drift, there'd be no difference between an Earth that's stationary and an Earth that's turning. Neither give you drift. And you're the ones that need 15 degrees of it, not us. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No, but I still would like to know what it is.
Apparition. It's something you see, but can't truly pinpoint in Euclidean space. Because everybody sees it in a slightly apparently different location. Apparent.
Got to add something that was really important. Not about drift or housekeeping, but about my plug. So at the beginning of this live show, for people who didn't tune in, I plugged several channels. So Jeronism, Chris Berry, Quantum Eraser, and last but by no means least, Math Powerland. So if you do go and subscribe to all these people, I'm going to spam links to all of them right now. So this is Math Powerland's channel. Go and check him out. If you do, put a comment saying Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. So going past in the live stream chat right now is a link to Math Powerland. If you're watching, go and leave a comment for Math, letting him know that I sent you to subscribe today. Same goes for Quantum Eraser. So Quantum Eraser, I plugged earlier. I just forgot to say this bit, the most critical bit. Make sure you tell them that I've sent you. So leave a comment
I
and
got
say...
several comments of subscribers that came because of your advertisement.
Yes! Excellent. So I know it's working. It's worth knowing whether or not someone's come and subscribed. If they just put subbed, well, why? Did you come because you saw the link in a YouTube suggestion, or was it because Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me? So same goes for Quantum Eraser. So if you do go and subscribe today to Quantum Eraser YouTube channel, then leave him a little comment just saying Nathan sent me. Now, I don't think that's possible with Jeronism, but unfortunately, Jeronism doesn't have any videos on YouTube at the moment. I'm yet to actually watch his video, What Happened to My YouTube Channel, but this is his website all the same. So I'll copy the website address, and again, go and, if you can, leave a comment. I don't know if you can on his website. You might have a forum like I have on Nathan Oakley 1980, on nathanoakley.com, sorry. But yeah, if you can leave him a comment, just let him know I sent him your way. He's obviously still appearing on Globusters on a Sunday. So that's Jeronism. And last but by no means least is actually on the panel right now. And of course, I can't get to his share button. Let's just resize this. Crazy video, Chris. Chris Berry, who is a very active participant in this discussion and is a very practical man. So he does lots of demonstrations on his channel. He's also got in touch with the Balloonist. He's what we discussed earlier. Again, Chris, I know you're here. If you do go and leave a comment for Chris and subscribe today, let him know I sent you, because he won't know. That was it.
Even
That's
though
all.
he's here.
The 2 plugs, forgot to do that both times. I've done it now, right in the middle of the show where it's least important. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No.
No.
Nope.
Hell no.
No. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
Surely there's got to be a glober who thinks that that's real life and can prove that.
Maybe you should ask a hot air balloonist about that one.
Yeah, right.
Racking my brain.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
No.
What is gravity?
You could get some ideas about it from Arwin.
Me?
Yeah, why not?
I'm not opening all those cans just yet, but I'll give you exactly the history of it so far.
Yeah, feel free.
Right. Yeah, you have the Newtonian mechanics. That's kind of an outdated concept. Yeah, earlier physics attempt. Some of it is still legitimate, but yeah, the law system of it was too encapsulated. It doesn't really work. It basically bypasses physics concerning gases completely, which makes it invalid because gases are, of course, there. And so, yeah, at some point, I guess people kind of got disinterested with it, or it didn't really develop. And then Einstein came in and, yeah, they opened up a whole new conceptual medium of possibilities. And then all that started. And then, of course, they did not put giant disclaimer tags onto that every time, like this is conceptual, this is not real. No, they didn't do that. So that culturally and through movies and radio talk, people talking about, eventually people started to automatically reify that in reality. Because why else would everybody be talking about it, right? And that's, yeah, now we're dealing with the remnants of all that.
So it's a reification fallacy.
Yep.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
No.
They probably think they do, but when you test that, they find out that they don't even know what the scientific method is, although not all of them are unaware. Michio Kaku is very well aware of it. We all remember.
Shout out to Michio Kaku.
Shout out retracted.
I don't know.
Good
I
job.
like a hostile witness. Shout out to Neil deGrasse Tyson.
That's a shout out retracted too.
Fair enough. Expand Your Mind 13 says, Jaren removed the videos from his channel, trying to save the channel. Currently he has 1 strike. Ah, okay. I don't really follow, but okay, that's the
Did he
explanation.
remove them or did he set them to private?
I don't know. I'll have to watch his video. Let's not speculate, because we could spend all day on it. Just after the show, I'll watch
From
his
what I
video.
remember hearing him say, he did set him to private. He still has them. He just doesn't have them.
Yeah, that's
out.
correct.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So he's still a YouTuber. He's not going to disappear completely. Hopefully, it's a preventative measure. Well, that's good. That's cheered me up. You know, in other words, he's taking control. Good. That's much better to hear. Thank you very much for the super chat. Expand Your Mind 13. Really appreciate the info during the live show, so we can get a bit of clarity out to the audience. Excellent news. Thank you for telling me. Where were we? Any evidence of the R value? Earth radius?
R? Nah, not even a little bit.
Well, if you just assume the Earth has to turn out to be a globe, then it's very easy to presuppose.
At
And
this
that's
point in the
always
game,
the main function, isn't it? As long as you understand that it must be a globe, then there's no problem with assuming R at all.
Yeah, if you assume R, then there you go. You have R. Why not? Seems legit, right?
Yeah, if you can brainwash people to be on the base level assertion that they're already under the total knowledge and complete acceptance of a globe, then they're automatically going to beg the question without even realising it. Well, we already know, so it's perfectly acceptable for me to say if we're on a globe, then I'll travel antipodal to the southern hemisphere and watch stars rotate. Sorry, you'll do what now? You'll be upside down hanging off the bottom of a sphere when you go and make this observation. Why would you assume such a thing? Well, because we already know. Well, that's circular reasoning. You're supposed to be proving it. Well, no, I assume it's what happens when I travel to the south. I assume I'm then hanging off the bottom of a ball, so I can look at stars and say I'm hanging off the bottom of a ball, as I declared in my example.
well, after 7 housekeeping questions prior to this one, it's the R stands for Are You Kidding Me?
Concludes the housekeeping.
Can we go back to Coriolis for a minute?
Sure.
Yeah, when they presuppose R, they can't be Euclidean me.
Euclidean
There
me?
you go.
Copyright, Neil.
Copyright Neil, 19. 2020.
Were you in
Okay,
the previous
Coriolis is
Hold on,
being
did-
connected to a force, right? So,
Sent us
but
in
when
the-
it's just an observation from the ground and not actual deflection because you're moving underneath something.
Well, that's what I want to establish from people like Simon Dan and Craig, who's now aligned with him. Do you guys not realise that Coriolis effect is observable from a non-inertial spinning reference frame turning underneath something not attached? Because you both seem to be fighting for the lack of drift. Clearly, you don't understand what Coriolis effect is.
Either that or they absolutely understand it, but they know how convoluted and just garbage it is as an argument. So they just have to doublespeak every which way they can because it just leaves them no choice. They have to.
Well,
because obviously we don't see it, right? Because if we saw it, we just see it, and we wouldn't need to talk about it because we saw it. All of us, we would that would just.
Well, there's a claim they do, so maybe I can put that to them as a question, Chocolate. And this is courtesy of Quantum Eraser. Does Earth turn under the Foucault pendulum as it swings back and forth, or not? Are your reference frames ruined? Or does Earth turn underneath the Foucault pendulum? Now, obviously, Earth isn't turning underneath anything, or we'd see things drift away, 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. But we need to ascertain whether or not you fundies, who tell us there's no drift, understand whether or not you have it underneath Foucault's pendulum as it swings in a straight line back and forth. Is Earth turning underneath as a second reference frame, or are they ruined? You tell me.
Well,
I didn't
maybe we should have a
understand.
conversation with Rumpus.
Hold on, Brian. Go ahead,
Sorry,
Chris.
Chris, you go ahead.
Hold on, Brian. Chris first. Sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I listened to that the other day, and I don't understand Rumpus's claim for the cause. Then, if he's because he did say that he said it's not spinning underneath or whatever. So, what is his argument for why it would apparently deviate in the first place?
Well, in that example, what he was claiming was gyroscopes have pendulums have an elliptical motion. Now, that's what he's claiming he's saying gyroscopes. That's what he's claiming pendulums just do. Now, obviously, that was humiliating. I've then edited that out and put descriptions of pendulums moving back and forth. That's what's being utilised to claim Earth turns underneath. Look, pendulums swing back and forth. Why is it then drifting? Well, because Earth's claimed to turn underneath. Now, when I put that to Rumpus, he'd rather be stupid, because he's a faceless, nameless troll, and declare that pendulums don't swing back and forth. Because sacrificing his own intellect, or perceived intellect, to an audience when he's a nameless, faceless troll is much better than conceding that, yeah, absolutely, it's claimed Earth turns underneath the pendulum as it swings back and forth in a straight line. That's why it seems to drift. That would be Coriolis effect. A claim that Earth turns underneath. Now, us saying this over and over again, that globe heads, fundamentalist religious zealots, think Earth turns underneath stuff not attached to give us Coriolis effect. When we keep saying that, they need to come here and tell us that that's not right, that that's sloppy. It just doesn't happen. We don't see anything drifting. Earth isn't turning. And they need to defend the fact that it doesn't exhibit that effect. That would be stuff drifting away at 15 degrees an hour, as is asserted by the pendulum and the gyroscope and the bullet and the football, but doesn't happen with the hot air balloon or the helicopter or the aeroplane or you if you jump up and down, because Earth is not turning underneath, even though they claim it is. And we're going to get this well and truly tied down from here on forward. You and your reference frames, globe believers, have been ruined. Earth isn't turning underneath as a second reference frame. Just go and ask Dan. Or Craig. Or Rumpus, who all very explicitly will tell you, no. Earth is not returning underneath. No, you just don't understand that there's no drift at 15 degrees an hour. So they'll all tell you how there's no drift. Earth isn't turning underneath. No 15 degrees an hour, right, lads? You sing it with me. Earth isn't turning underneath. We don't have Coriolis effect. It's ludicrous. Earth is stationary.
Yeah, but there's a problem. Craig and Dan need to speak to Rumpus, because Rumpus will claim on this show that the Earth is not rotating underneath the Foucault pendulum, but then he will claim later on in the evening on Ranty's show that the Foucault pendulum is what proved that the Earth was rotating
underneath. You need to please expand on these. I know it's so easy to just shorten it. So he was claiming on Ranty's show that Earth was turning underneath the sun at 15 degrees an hour, was he?
Yes, and that the proof of this was that the Foucault pendulum is what proved it was the Earth that was rotating and not the Sun that was orbiting us.
I see. So the gyro in its inertial reference frame spinning around, not drifting or deviating, has the cage move around that fixed frame in the inertial reference frame of a spinning gyro because it's claimed Earth turns underneath? Something he spent about an hour denying to me here only hours earlier. It seems you've got a big problem, Fundies. Rumpus here would rather deny understanding of how a pendulum works than concede it's claimed Earth turns underneath at 15 degrees an hour. People in the comments want to tell me 15 degrees an hour drift is what proves Earth spinning. So what's going on, lads? Simultaneously, we've also got other people telling us you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between a stationary Earth and Earth spinning with atmosphere spinning with it. Again, no 15 degrees an hour Coriolis deflection in that justification for no difference between the two. No drift. So you need to get your ducks in a line, my friends. Globers who believe we spin need to figure out what the actual rhetoric is, and I'll tell you now what your rhetoric is. Your reference frames, 2 of them, with Earth turning underneath, is something that we don't experience in reality. Otherwise, flight times would be reduced and your ball would fly away 1,000 miles an hour on the equator when you threw it in the air. That would be because Earth turned underneath it? Yeah, that don't happen, does it? But Foucault says it does, and apparently snipers have to worry about it, and Neil deGrasse Tyson says Earth turns underneath a football, and apparently gyroscopes have proved it. Proved what, you should ask? Well, proved that Earth turns underneath stuff not attached at 15 degrees an hour. Roll on the denial of something we never see. You need drift, globeheads. You need stuff to drift away. And it doesn't. Ask Dan. Thanks, Dan. No drift. You and your reference frames on the globe side have been ruined. You need 2 of them.
The pendulum,
I wish I could
Nathan.
ask.
One
Sorry,
second,
Dan.
Chocolate, sorry. The pendulum, Nathan. No, you're after saying the gyroscope a couple of times. It's the pendulum. So-called pendulum, not the gyroscope. That's
Same
what
thing.
was
It's the same exact principle.
Okay.
In the case of the gyro's spinning in its own inertial reference frame. And the reason you see the cage twist around it 15 degrees is because it's claimed Earth turns underneath. Now, there's plenty of examples of mechanical gyros not drifting, with Earth not turning underneath them, but that's what Foucault claimed. He simultaneously claims the exact same effect with the linear, straight motion of a pendulum, back and forth, like you observe in a clock. But in the Foucault pendulum, what's that you say? Oh, it's drifting. Oh, well, it's not that pendulums have anything other than a back and forth motion. It's claimed Earth turns underneath the pendulum, same as the gyro. Well, if Earth turns underneath as a second reference frame, precisely what they're claiming in those 2 examples, then Earth turns underneath planes. But they simultaneously show us men being dragged along by tractors, not drifting, and explaining how stuff shouldn't drift at 15 degrees an hour as Earth turns underneath in their claim. So that's a big problem, isn't it, Craig? You telling us all about how we shouldn't have drift, when it's claimed you've got 15 degrees an hour as Earth turns underneath. Foucault saying it. Bob's supposed to be proving it with a gyroscope and 15 degrees an hour drift that you say doesn't happen with your little man being dragged by a tractor. So no drift then. So no second reference frame turning underneath at 15 degrees an hour. No Earth turn then. Maybe get Rumpus in to tell me all about how I don't understand that Foucault is claiming Earth turns underneath the pendulum or gyro. That that's a sloppy explanation. That actually they move together to not give you 15 degrees an hour drift that you need to prove Earth spins, right, lads? Yes, suckle on them.
Okay. I thought you were I thought you meant to say the pendulum, and you said the gyroscope and say instead, because you had said that earlier. You meant to say the pendulum, and you said gyroscope. So I thought, in case you're going to cut that piece out, just so you knew, that's all.
It makes no difference.
I think that
they're both Foucault claims. Doesn't make any difference if it's a pendulum or a gyro. The principle is that you've got an inertial reference frame from either the pendulum or the gyroscope. Gyroscopes spin in the inertial reference frame and don't drift. If you've got a bicycle wheel and you spin it on your finger, you turn your arm and the not pendulum, I'm doing it myself now. The gyroscopic motion of the bicycle wheel stays in that orientation. In other words, it's not moving out of that orientation. It's in an inertial reference frame, not moving. That's what gyros do. Same as a pendulum. So they swing back and forth. That's the property that's being utilised to claim Earth turns underneath a gyro or a pendulum, to then later assert that, well, obviously snipers are going to have to account for this. Earth's turning under bullets. And obviously the goal was only scored because Earth turned under the ball. So we say, well, Earth would turn under aeroplanes, and it doesn't. And they say we wouldn't expect to see drift. Here's my example of a man towed by a tractor not drifting. So no drift then. No 15 degrees an hour. The goal wasn't scored because Earth turned under the ball. Bullets aren't needing accounting for Coriolis drift as Earth turns underneath them. Foucault was wrong when he said Earth turned underneath the pendulum to cause it to drift at 15 degrees an hour. He was wrong when he said the gyroscopic motion is interrupted at 15 degrees an hour because Earth's turning underneath it. That was wrong, right? You and your reference frames have been ruined. Yeah, we know. Stationary Earth.
Come on, Nathan, you just don't understand. Everything moves in lockstep with the rotation of the Earth, except when they point at things and tell you how they don't. Okay?
They want to have their cake and eat it, do they? Yeah.
I'd love to know why Rumpus's story changes depending on what show he goes on. That doesn't seem very consistent. What's going on there?
I can tell you, their claim is we have 15 degrees an hour drift, and we don't. So when you point out that we don't have drift, he'll deny we're supposed to have it and say single reference frame. And when you say, what proof have you got for Earth spinning, he'll say Earth turns underneath at 15 degrees an hour.
Well, that's a shame, because it doesn't.
This is the same guy.
He goes somewhere else, and I don't know. That's crazy.
This is the same guy who said on this show in 2 different occasions, second law of thermodynamics does not apply to the Earth. Then said, oh, I would never say such a thing. You know, of course it applies to the Earth or whatever. Like he said those 2 completely opposite things, and it's on recording. I have it myself. I know a lot of us have it.
Yeah,
says that he does this all the time. It's his MO.
Yeah, he's a liar here to defend a false narrative of us standing on a sphere. With that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you first and foremost to both Discord and G+ Panels for making the live show possible. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, this will bid all of you watching live farewell. A massive thank you to all of you. Smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on a premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!